if you have an idea for a new application for PET, and you want to build a special scanner to fulfill that application, then it's a very expensive business. Now, I know something about this because my lab built a scanner for imaging the human breast, and that program's several millions of dollars and many years to complete the program and build the scanner. And there's only maybe 6 or 7 labs in the United States that have the expertise to do this kind of work. And some of the places that you think would have this, they don't have this expertise. So Johns Hopkins does not have the capability to do this kind of work. Mass General used to many years ago, but now they do no longer have that expertise to do this kind of work. So that is a wasted opportunity because there are lots of possibilities for building new types of PET scanners. And these top institutions have the ideas, but they don't have the group, the number of people that you need with the right expertise to do this anymore. Furthermore, if you're out in the developing world, then this kind of work is simply impossible. There's just no way, if you're in Brazil or you're in Egypt, for example, that you could do this. It's just not possible. So our idea is this. We want to build a kit that's a bit like a Lego kit that allows you to plug little PET detectors together to make PET scanners of any geometry you like. It could be one to image the finger, or it could be one to image the wrist, or it could be one to be used in the operating room to track, to help guide the surgeon. So some kind of PET scanner that doesn't look like one you can buy, but rather it's one you want to do experiments with. So we get these detectors. You can put them together. If you have a 3D printer and you have access to computer-aided design tools, which many people do these days, you can then build the scanners that you hang the detectors off very easily. You plug the detectors in, and then the idea is that you have very simple electronics that can support any number of detectors that you want. So just 2 detectors, or maybe 10, or maybe 50. And then you plug those into a computer and you start acquiring data. And then we have, to go with it, some special software that allows you to turn the data from the detectors into images. And you basically just tell the software, this is where my detectors are. Now you know what my scanner looks like. Go away and reconstruct the images for me. If you had a toolkit like that, then places like Johns Hopkins or Mass General could easily go and do experiments with new PET ideas. And if they work, then a company can come along and say, yeah, that's a great idea. We'll work with you to build a real PET scanner that can be used in the clinic that looks like this. And then when they're done with their experiment, they take the detectors apart and they build a new PET scanner. Rather than having to spend millions of dollars every time for every project and have to have 6 people with a wide range of expertise, you can just do this with one postdoc and an instruction manual.
Great.
So that's the idea of the PET toolkit. So this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I've been working with a team in Brazil to try and make this happen, but we were not getting funding. And then I started working with a team in Egypt, and we got some funding from the USAID, Agency for International Development, to actually build a prototype toolkit. And the idea is that we'll build this kit and then we'll ship it to Egypt, and hopefully they can start doing some experiments over there using this toolkit. And this will prove whether I'm right or not, whether we really can build a toolkit and get a group sort of from zero to the point where they're actually building their own scanners. So that's the base.
When did this project start?
So we started this project. So this project arose. It spun out of a project I had. I was building breast scanners, and then it's a fun story actually. So we built this breast scanner, and then we realized that you could scan human wrists in it. Okay, cool. So we started scanning human wrists, and we found some very interesting results in arthritis, especially rheumatoid arthritis. You could watch therapies working very quickly using PET scans of the wrists in rheumatoid arthritis. And then we thought, well, it's good to be able to scan the humans, but we also need to scan animals here, because if we're doing development work in drugs or whatever, we need to have a way of doing this in animals. And there were no scanners available for scanning the paw of a mouse, the equivalent of a wrist on a mouse, because there were no PET scanners that had good enough spatial resolution for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we built one. And we got 2 detectors that were very high resolution, and then I went away on vacation, and I came back like 10 days later, and my graduate student had built the whole gantry and got the whole PET scanner working. And I'm like looking at him thinking, you know, when I was a graduate student, that's a whole year's work, and you did it in 10 days. Mm. And what's changed is 3D printing and computer design and 3D milling machines. We had the detectors. To put them together was a really very, very simple job. And that's when we had the idea for this toolkit. My word, if we can get several of these detectors together, we can make any kind of geometry scanner we want. It doesn't cost very much, and it's quick. That's when we got the idea. And the paper on that particular scanner, it just got published actually just like a month ago. The name of the scanner is called PAWPET, P-A-W-P-E-T. So that paper got published just recently. But the project has been going on for some time. It's some years ago, I think maybe 3 years ago, we really started pursuing this aggressively. And we got the funding from USAID, I think 2 years ago. We've had a few difficulties. Actually, difficulties have been linked with visa, actually, because Abdullah had to go back to Egypt, and then he couldn't get back for 6 months. So we lost a bit of time there. But basically now we're going full ahead on this project, and we're developing some really nice, simple, low-power electronics that are really quite cheap, actually. And we're very pleased with this idea because in the past, when we've tried to build these electronics, they've been really quite expensive. And the whole point about this toolkit is it needs to be cheap.
Yes.
So we've developed, we've been working on this new suite of electronics that's much cheaper and much simpler, and based around a technology called FPGA, Field Programmable Gate Arrays. So we're building these FPGA-based electronics, and they're very compact, pretty cheap, and they seem to be working pretty well. So a lot of good things have come together here, and I think this toolkit's going to be a success. I'm very hopeful this is going to be a success. For this first prototype, what we're doing is we're actually cannibalizing an old scanner. So years ago, my friend Simon Cherry built an animal scanner called MicroPet 2, and we're taking apart his old detectors and using the key components, what they call the scintillating crystals from that old scanner, and we're using it to make the toolkit. So we're finding all sorts of ways to make this cheaply.
So basically we are talking about a new technology that enables the previous PET one to become much cheaper, more flexible, and with a higher spatial resolution.
I would get rid of the spatial resolution one. We can use this approach to do any kind of detector we like. Could be high resolution, might not be. This first prototype that we've got is moderate resolution. It's like 1 millimeter, so it's like that's not hugely high. But you could use it to do very high resolution, but you can make choices about that. That's part of the fun of this. So I imagine a tech detector toolkit that might have several different detectors in it. You might have some high-resolution ones, some medium-resolution ones, and some low-resolution but high-sensitivity detectors in your toolkit. And then you choose the ones you need for the project in hand.
So the basic gaps that it comes to fill in current PET technology are those of the astronomical cost and this lack of flexibility that current PET technology is distinguished by.
And also the other thing is the expertise of the research group. So we at UC Davis, we're very good at instrumentation, but we don't have a monopoly on good clinical ideas. There's lots of places out there that have great clinical ideas.
And not only in the US.
And not only in the US.
Japan, so if only I saw some studies, some projects, for example, in Japan, even in Slovakia or Slovenia, I'm not sure, one of these countries. Because I'm doing
Exactly.
research on PET technology, and yeah.
Of course, Japan doesn't need our help, frankly. They're very advanced.
Mm-hmm.
But in Brazil and Egypt, they've got lots of smart people, but they haven't got the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so, if we can provide these people, we can with tools, we can expand the scientific community and build capacity in other countries as well.
So basically,
And I think
this started off with developing countries in mind.
you, it's funny. I'm trying to be really honest here.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, my first idea was to put this in the hands of places like Johns Hopkins.
Okay.
But as soon as we got the idea, we realized also that this is very important for developing countries as well. So it actually serves two needs. There's an internal need to expand the number of centers, research centers in this country that can do PET technology development, and broader need in developing countries to expand their scientific base in biological sciences. And both, I think, can be met with this approach.
Yes. Yes. So, and how about its future applications? They will be both in the realm of cancer and non-cancer imaging.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have interest when we look about the finger, for example. We're looking at things like psoriatic arthritis and the wrist. Again, we're really looking at autoimmune arthritis. But if we were looking at surgery guidance, for example, then we'd probably be looking at cancer. But there could be other applications as well. One of the things one can do if one images the wrist, it allows one to image the amount